no completion. Hello and happy 4th of July from here at Two Consoles Too Late. I am the host, Jackson Keebler, and I am Two Consoles Too Late. What does that mean here at this podcast? I look at the classics and the not-so-classics of retro video gaming, often for the very first time, and with no built-in nostalgia. And today is a perfect example because I'm looking at the Journey to Silius for the NES. A fun little game from Sunsoft. ... Also got some news to talk about. Sony is stopping physical media and everybody's shitting their pants. And a new Metroid game got leaked. And I got a bit of a sticker because the weather sucks. And we're going to do some auction alert. I don't know if it's going to be fun, but it's sure as hell going to be hot. And in the background, if you hear like a humming, like a... Yeah, that's my air conditioner. And that's not turning off, all right? You have to listen to my air conditioner for the next 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, let's go.
Going long. It is going long. Looking long. Going long. It is going long. Looking long.
I almost didn't have it going long just because there was nothing to talk about. I haven't bought any games. The last game I bought, I talked on the last podcast. I don't have any games in the pipeline. I wish I had games in the pipeline, you know, but I don't. I just don't have the scratch right now to be buying such extravagances. I just got back from vacation, all right? So going long is really short. I just did a live stream every Saturday morning, 7:30 a.m. I do a live stream of a game from the PS1 Longbox collection, and this last, as of 30 minutes ago, not even, I played Off-World Interceptor Extreme. That game is a mouthful. Should have shortened that title down. Kind of a stupid vehicular combat game. I was rather pleased. Had these FMV cutscenes that had some sort of like Mystery Science Theater 3000 thing going on. Kind of funny. Kind of enjoyed it. So that one was kind of a sleeper. I thought I was going to turn it off after like 20 minutes, but I stuck with it. So you can be sure to check that out on the YouTubes and the Twitches. So that's it. That's going long. Like I said, there's really not much there this week. Tune in 2 weeks. You know, maybe there'll be more to the going long segment. But anyway, let's talk about some of this news. All right, it was announced this week that Sony is going to stop making physical games. And the interwebs and whatnot has just gone ablaze with their ire and speculation and frustration and whatnots. And it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Stick it.
Funny little side note, I was doing my live stream and I thought I was hitting the stick it button. I was just hitting the beep button, which I just now I'm realizing, but so if you do watch the live stream and I hit a button and all you hear is a beep, that's why. Anyway, I meant to hit this one because this is just what you people deserve. Okay, Sony's going to stop making physical discs. Okay, that's a business decision. It costs more to create a physical copy of something rather than a digital download. So I was not surprised at all when I saw this. But to see people asking, well, are physical games going to cost more, like my retro stuff? No, I don't think retro video games are going to cost more because Sony isn't making games for the PS5. Those are two unrelated subjects. And I put my shit out there in the interwebs of what I thought, and I found this great meme. It's a scene from a great movie called Falling Down with Michael Douglas, a man who sort of goes off the edge and because of a divorce, and he's just having a really bad day. And so in the movie, he gets to this fast food restaurant, and he wants to order lunch, but they're like still on breakfast or something, and he's he just completely goes off the deep end. And so someone took that scene and said, you know what, I don't want a digital download. I want a physical disc, which is something that he would have said in that movie. Anyway, I thought it was brilliant. And, you know, I'm a huge proponent of physical media here. And I said in my little post, I haven't gotten Silksong because there is no physical copy. When Ocarina of Time does come out, I'm sure any physical copy is going to be a collector's edition only, which I'm going to do a hard pass on. But this is the future, and it's something that I have to accept. Fortunately for me, I don't buy a lot of newer games, so this doesn't affect me too much. But anyway, everyone just calm down, okay? Calm down, bring it down a notch, okay? This doesn't affect all your retro stuff. All your retro stuff is still on the shelf, and it still looks pristine for YouTube. Just calm down, okay? All right, my computer is about to crap the bed because I tried to load an article from, I wouldn't say a questionable website, but one of those websites that just totally loaded with ads. It was cbr.com. I don't even know what that is. So I went over to the good old Kotaku's. Their website doesn't try to spam me with ads. All right, so we have an article here written about a leaked Metroid game is written by Ethan Gatch. Now, I'm pretty sure when you go into the offices of Kotaku, there's only like 3 guys on a coffee machine. Ethan Gatch, Zach Zeisven, and I don't know any other writers that I've featured, but... All right, I take it back. Kotaku is another fucking shitty website that just loads ads. I just got this ad and just started playing a video. And it was like, I could hear this ad in my headphones. I was like, what the fuck is this? All right, so let's get through this before another ad loads. My God. Metroid Ravenous could be a new Switch 2 sequel to Dread after latest ratings leak. All right. Metroid fans have been worrying about the sci-fi series' future after last year's Metroid Prime 4 appeared to sell poorly. Whatever, it was a bad game. But a fresh ratings board leak out of Brazil may have just confirmed a new sequel. A game with the title Metroid Ravenous recently appeared in a posting by the Brazilian Ministry of Justice and Public Security. Could it be one of fall's surprises for a Switch 2 release? The rating was shared earlier today by journalist, quote unquote, Necrolipe on X and on the Fama Board's gaming forum. It lists 2026 as the year of production, with the United States as the country of origin for the rating submission. It reportedly received a rating of 12 plus based on the review of about 41 minutes of material for violence, weapons, death, and blood, and light sexual content. And that's about all we know about this game so far. And then they show the tweet from Necro, the journalist, Necrolipe. Spanish, and then some official documents. Okay. I guess that's a source of leaking, is going through government documents looking for video game titles. And this journalist found one in Brazil. I speculated as to the future of the Metroid franchise because I believe Mercury Steam just did some layoffs. And I didn't look for that article. Maybe I had an article. But I think Mercury Steam just did some layoffs, which made me think, okay, you know what? We're not getting a Metroid Dread sequel anytime soon. But it appears I could be in error. The other article I had quoted Nate the Hate, who is a well-known Nintendo leaker. I just can't get over that stupid name. But so, like, when Nate the Hate confirms that something's coming out, then it's usually official because he's predicted a whole bunch of things, including apparently the Ocarina of Time. I mean, I think everyone predicted the Ocarina of Time remake. So anyway, all that being said, Metroid Ravenous, it's being reviewed by the Brazilian government, so we shall see what we shall see in the second half of 2026 from Nintendo. All right, so before we jump into the meat and potatoes of the podcast, talking about Journey to Silius, I gotta stick it. Stick it! Real quick, my stick is going to the weather. Oh my God. it seems like every July 4th, the weather just gets really bad. And in Baltimore, it gets super bad because it's hot and it's humid. And it's like 100% humidity and temperatures are like in the hundreds. And that just makes the heat index even worse. You step outside for like 5 minutes and you just feel, ugh. I'm a winter guy through and through. I just like putting on a sweater because with winter you can put stuff on, but with the summer you can't take stuff off. So I am just sitting inside, avoiding the heat and waiting for the break. Let's go fall. All right, that's it. That's the podcast. That's all you need to know about the Journey of Silius is the opening song. That's it. Once you've heard it, it's like, okay, you don't even have to play the game at this point, okay? So that's it. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I've been the host, Jackson Keebler. You can check me out on the interwebs. Just go to Google and type in 2 Consoles Too Late, and there I will be. As always, have a good one. I love you, and... All right, I wouldn't do that. In all seriousness, though, that song is absolutely dope, and we're going to talk a lot about that, and we're going to hear it again and again and again. But we're going to hear a lot of the music from good old Journey to Silius because this soundtrack is awesome, whereas the game itself, not so much. So first, we're going to do our AI slot portion of the podcast, and then we'll jump right into the story of the game, talk a little bit about the gameplay. Definitely going to talk about that soundtrack and then my impressions therein of the game. So how did I come to Journey of Silius? Well, one, I always thought that song was dope, and I heard it over on the Lost Joystick Network as like an intro to their special guests who do like reviews. And I was like, I always wondered like, what game is that from? Then I saw like a social media post about the Journey to Silius, and for some reason, I don't know why, the game has always been on the radar. And I had one of these days where I was sort of listless, and I was like, I need a game to play. And sometimes I just like scroll through my hacked Nintendo with like pretty much the entire NES library. And I like to inflict pain upon myself and play an 8-bit game. And I came across Journey to Silius. I was like, all right, I'll give this a shot. Started up, and then boom, that song played. Let's hear it again, shall we? Yeah, so that game started up, and I was like, okay, this is where it comes from. And I got all excited, and then, I got this like series of sort of, I wouldn't call them cuts, I guess sort of cutscenes for the day, given the story of Jay McRae in the Journey of Silius. And I thought, okay, this game has potential. Then I started playing it, and it just sort of turned into a run and gun wannabe of Contra Mega Man, and it just went south from there, unfortunately. So let's talk about some Journey to Silius. Released in North America in 1991 by Sunsoft. Sunsoft is the developer who made such other notable NES classics such as Blaster Master and Batman. And so there you go. Journey to Silius stands out for its memorable soundtrack and tight gameplay. It's set in a futuristic world. You play as Jay McRae, who sets out to avenge his father's death after a terrorist organization steals a powerful new weapon system. Once again, I'll say it again. It starts off promising, but the setting and the atmosphere doesn't really match once you get into the game. So this is from the Manual of Journey to Silius. This is the story, so stay with me. The time is the year 0373 in the new space age calendar. The Earth's population is exploding so rapidly that people are seeking exodus to an outer space paradise. People everywhere are eager to develop space colonies and emigrate to them. Jay McCrae is no exception. He is preparing for his journey to the new space colony number 428 in the Silius solar system. He decided to move to the colony because his father, an astute scientist, was instrumental in the space colony development. Jay has always been proud of his father and wanted to be like him, even more so now because his father was appointed leader of the SSSS colony development. Jay's dream is to be on the space colony development team. Unfortunately, his dream will not come true. A devastating explosion rocked the SSS colony and destroyed everything, including all project data and the research team. Any further development of the colony would be impossible. Because Jay's father was killed in the explosion, Jay would never know what really happened. He is determined to take over for his father, but without his father's records, research is at a standstill. While searching his father's room, Jay finds a floppy disk. While he puts it in the computer, he realizes it contains a complete plan of the SSS colony development. The disk also includes a letter from his father, which reads, "Terrorists are plotting to destroy the colony development. If anything happens to me, you must complete the project." Father, I knew this would happen, Jay said to himself, but now I have his plans. I can finish his work. As Jay worked on the project, he realized the terrorists were still out there and even more determined to destroy the SSS colony plan. Jay then vows, "I have no choice but to fight the terrorists, to defend the colony development, and to avenge my father's death." Alright, it wasn't really necessary to read all that crap, but in typical 8-bit fashion, you got to set up a big story for a game that's just not a lot there, and I mean, it's better than most when it comes to the NES library. So before we start talking about the Journey to Silius, I need to sort of qualify things here. I do not like NES games. I'm going to like your Zeldas, I'm going to like your Contras, I'm going to like your Metroids, I'm going to like your Tetrises, your Paperboys, things like that. But for the most part, I'm not a fan of the NES library. They were they were better than Atari, and they came at a time that was absolutely crucial and pretty much saved the video game industry. I will give it that. But, and Nintendo took steps to make sure that there wasn't a crash like they saw over at Atari, so they kind of had a bigger part in what was released for the Nintendo. But unfortunately, most of the games, despite getting the Nintendo seal of approval or whatever that crap is, I don't like them. And every once in a while, some games get through. Your Battles of Olympus, your Xanadu's come to mind. Oh, forgot Castlevania. That's a major title. So there are good games on the NES, but I would say at least 80% of the library is absolute crap. And I think Journey to Silius fits that category, but the only saving grace for it is that banger of a soundtrack. Let's hear it one more time. All right, there's a lot of S's in this game. You got the Silius solar system. It was developed by Sunsoft. So I'm tripping over my S's here. Sunsoft pushed the NES hardware with detailed background, smooth animation, and large enemy sprites. One thing I noticed about the Journey to Silius was there was no lag. And I think that's a result of not having a lot of enemies on the screen at one time, which was good. The banger soundtrack was composed by Naoki Kodaka and is widely considered one of the best on the system, and it features energetic tracks that perfectly match the game's fast-paced action. And in my notes, I just have simply fuck yeah. So let's hear another track from Mr. Kodaka from this wonderful soundtrack. We've heard the title theme one too many times. Let's try something else. Let's try, what do you think? Stage 2? Yeah, let's play some Stage 2. The gameplay of Journey to Silius combines precise platforming with intense shooting. Players have access to multiple weapon types, and each is useful in different situations. Learning the enemy patterns and conserving ammunition are key to progressing through the game's 6 challenging stages. The weapons are the machine gun, the shotgun, which is like a spread from Contra, the laser, the homing missile, and the grenade launcher. All right. I did not notice a lot of difference in the damage being done, just dependent on the weapon. I used mostly the spread when I had to hit enemies that were too far above me. And I used the homing missile to take out, I think it was stage 3, some sort of like little, I don't know what they were, like drones or something. Basically, I used the homing missiles to hit enemies that I couldn't hit with my regular gun. Because for the most part, I used my regular machine gun to conserve the ammo because the ammo is very limited. The pictures of the guns in the menu I thought were kind of cheap. They look like the guns I used to draw in my math textbook on my textbook cover, like when you used to take a paper bag and then cover your textbooks. I actually never did that. My brothers, I never knew how to do that. So my brothers would cover my textbook. So if you guys are listening, thank you. But I used to draw crap all over the cover of my textbooks. And I used to draw guns because I was, in elementary school, and that's what you draw. And I think the pictures of the guns in Journey to Silius look like something that would have been drawn on a textbook. That was my impression. And the menu itself to switch through the guns was a bit ham-fisted. So if you wanted to go from like the machine gun to, let's say, the homing missile, you had to skip through 5 other guns to get there. And to achieve those guns and put them in your menu, you had to finish a stage. It wasn't something that you picked up along the way. Now, an interesting part of the game Journey to Silius is the game's history, and that it reportedly began development as a licensed game based on the movie Terminator. So after licensing issues, Sunsoft redesigned the story and the characters of the game while keeping much of the gameplay intact. Although it was never officially confirmed in every detail, the similarities have made this one of the most discussed pieces of NES development history. And there's plenty of videos on the YouTubes where you can check it out. That, early screenshots were released when it was supposed to be the Terminator game. And then they switched everything around. I didn't get that impression at all. The impression I got was a lot of the sprites and things look like things from RoboCop. Because I think the boss at the end of the first stage looked like, what was it, the T-1000? Or is that a Terminator thing? The big walking mech robot in RoboCop. And some of the sprites looked like RoboCop. That was my impression. So I did not really get a Terminator feel. But I'm not surprised, that was a thing. So at launch, Journey to Silius received positive reviews for its audio-visual quality and challenging gameplay. While it wasn't a major commercial hit, its reputation has grown significantly amongst retro gaming enthusiasts. Today, the original NES cartridges remain popular with collectors, especially complete copies with the original box and manual. That is ChatGPT's way of saying that if you're going to buy this game CIB, you're going to pay a pretty penny. CIB, a copy of Journey to Silius is $149, and a loose copy is $40. So that leads us over to our our favorite portion of the podcast. That's also a bit of a mouthful. It's not a bunch of S's, it's a bunch of A's. It is Auction Alerts.
Auction alert.
All right, so here on Auction Alerts, I have a bit of a correction, retraction, whatever. On the last episode of Two Consoles Too Late, I talked about Golden Axe Warrior, which was for the Sega Master System, and I said I was going to feature a auction on the Shop Goodwills that had a Sega Master Systems, and I completely spaced it. And so for that, I'm sorry. But there was a listing coming from the Goodwill of South Central California. I'm not sure where that is. It was for a Sega Master System. And the first picture is the console, 2 controllers, a zapper gun, but they didn't call it a zapper gun, of course. And it just a bundle of wires. And my OCD just went completely off when I saw this. It's just, just take a little bit of extra time and wrap up those wires, South Central California. But there was a Sega Master System. The auction ended. It got 16 bids, and it ended at $147.66. So a Sega Master System could have been had on the Shop Goodwills had I remembered to feature this auction on Auction Alert. All right, it's the kitty lunch hour a little early here at the podcast. We're doing Auction Alert, but the cats have decided to eat now. But don't worry, we're going to do some kitty lunch hour after Auction Alert and after I finish talking about Journey to Silius. But for right now, let's talk about some listings on the Shop Goodwills. Right now, current auctions as of the time of this podcast. A sealed copy of Pokemon Yellow is coming from the Evergreen Goodwill. Ugh. They got such gold, but I'm sure they treat it with such disdain. Right now, there's 15 bids on this. It's up to $1,751. Price Chart has a sealed copy of Pokemon Yellow, $819, but if it's a first print, it is $1,593. So I'm guessing that this is a first print. I'm not qualified to identify it as a first print or not, but there is a copy of Pokemon Yellow on the Shop Goodwills sealed. Moving on, there is a PS1, a Pisone, that comes with a copy of Criticom long box. That's the only reason I bookmarked that listing. You got the console, you got the power adapter, 2 controllers. All the wires are cleanly wrapped up and rubber banded as they should be. 2 memory cards and the game. Right now that's got 3 bids. It's up to $36. I just bookmarked that just to kind of see what it went for because it went with a long box game. This one was interesting. PlayStation PSX-2051 Development Debugging Unit Translucent Blue Shell. Now, this has come from the Goodwill Industries of Erie, Huron, Ottawa, and Sandusky counties. So I'm guessing we're northeastern Ohio, if my geography serves me correctly. It's up to 13 bids. It's at $94. I just thought that was a funny little item, and I tried to do a quick Google search on what is this thing, and I didn't find anything in my brief research. So I'm keeping an eye on that just because it's such a weird item to come across the Shop Goodwills. Moving on, I bookmarked a copy of Chrono Cross for the PlayStation coming from the Goodwill of Greater Milwaukee and Chicago, one of my more favorite Shop Goodwills. That has no bids. It's up to $10. Or has no bids. It's at 10. They started the auction at $10. The only reason I bookmarked that is because I just wanted to see what it sold for because I bought my copy for $15 and I've yet to play it. Moving on, Nintendo Game Boy Player startup disc with case, not the original case, just a generic CD case, jewel case. That's got 12 bids. It's up to $111. That is a highly sought after item. And you can also get the player, which is being sold separately, I believe, from the same Shop Goodwill. Now, here's another listing that pertains to a previous episode. 2 episodes ago, I talked about the Atari Jaguar. Yes. Well, an Atari Jaguar has come on the Shop Goodwills. It's coming from the Goodwill of Greater Washington, D.C. and Virginia area. So that's right down the street on 95 from me. The title is Atari Jaguar, including controller, power cable, video game console. Kind of a ham-fisted title there, but included with the console and whatnot, you got 3 controllers, and one of the controllers is a Pro controller, and the Pro controller can go, I think it's about $150 on the eBays. So that's driving up the price of this listing. But it comes with an Atari Jaguar backpack, and this looks like it was like a genuine thing from Atari, possibly. It's a backpack with the Atari Jaguar logo and the 64-bit below that. So that really kind of piqued my interest. And so right now, this auction has 14 bids. It's up to $500. It's got 2 days and 13 hours left on this auction. Keep my eye on that because I'm guessing what's driving the price of this up is that backpack and the Pro controller. And there's some weird discs included as well. But if you do want an Atari Jaguar with the CD attachment, with all the games, and with most of the cartridges, be sure to go on over to the Facebook marketplaces. And the Atari Jaguar collection is still available for only $2,800. And one more auction we have is right here in good old Baltimore from our local shop Goodwill, the Goodwill of the Chesapeake. Chrono Trigger Super Nintendo SNES video game with box and manual. And with 4 days, 11 hours left on this auction, and with 15 bids, it's up to $901. And everything looks to be in really good condition. And this is genuine. It is not a fake, because over there at the Goodwill of the Chesapeake, they cross their T's and dot their I's. When I was there, we actually had I believe there was a bootleg copy of Chrono Trigger that existed in a desk somewhere. Anyway, Price Chart has this game, CIB for $1,340. I'm guessing it's going to go for $1,500. Condition looks really good, and copies of this don't come up too often, especially on the shop Goodwills. But there's a couple sold listings I also wanted to talk about on Auction Alert as well. On the last episode, I talked about a GameCube that came in a very strange hard case from Blockbuster. That GameCube was coming from the Goodwill Industries of Michiana, and that GameCube with the hard case sold for $366. And that GameCube was for parts and repair. And I think what drove up the value of that was this hard case from Blockbuster. So that's a bit of a collector's item. That copy of Resident Evil that was coming from Harrisburg, I talked about, that was in the 300s, I think, when I did the podcast. That finished at $403. So that finished well above Price Chart. I'm guessing it actually got paid for because it hasn't been relisted. A whole bunch of long box games, too many to talk about. The Vagrant Story strategy guide that I was talking about, that sold for $23.99. And another copy of Zelda Twilight Princess for the GameCube came from the Goodwill of the Olympics and Rainier region, so Pacific Northwest. That sold for $197. So there's a game that's not coming to Nintendo Switch 2 anytime soon. All right, so let's wrap things up before we get into the Kitty Lunch Hour about Journey to Silius. This is what usually happens when I talk about a game here at the podcast. I start seeing it in my Cheerios, and then I start going to retro video game stores, and I start running across copies of it. I go to like the Toy Expo, and there will be a copy of Journey to Silius. It's just kind of a strange thing. Happened with Flashback. So I guess in the coming months, if you see random pictures of Journey to Silius on my Instagram, this is why. If you're looking to add Journey to Silius to your collection, expect a rather challenging experience. This game rewards patience, pattern recognition, and practice. It was not an easy title, but it's a fair one. And if you find mastering a game like this satisfying, so be it. To each their own. The speedrun record for this game, however, is 8 minutes and 26 seconds. I did not check one out on the YouTubes. So, what was the Journey to Silius like here at Two Consoles Too Late? once again, I'm going to put my impressions in no particular order of playing the Journey to Silius. Once again, this was a Miracle of Save States game here at the podcast. Any progression I made was because I used save states rather frequently. I didn't try to do a non-save state run. I'm pretty sure I would have died well in the first stage. The first boss was a little difficult. The second boss was extremely difficult. And I think I only made it as far as the third stage, and that's just kind of when I stopped playing. There's no health expansions and there's no ammo expansions. So your health meter and your ammo meter don't get any larger as the game goes on. That was a thing of contention for me. And the amount of health drops you got in the game were, you hardly got any. And when you did, it was a gift at best. There were no extra lives that you could pick up in the game because there was no score. So if you reached a certain point, you didn't get any extra lives. So you start with 3 lives, and I think you only got 1 continue, which once again made this game a little bit more difficult. The only thing you do get are bigger guns, but even having those bigger guns, you didn't have any ammo expansions, so you had to, conserve that ammo as best you could. This game required precise jumping and precise shooting. Something, when like the original Metroid, yeah, I can do it in Metroid, but in a game like this, it takes a lot of practice. Once again, a lot of memorization, and even if you memorize the patterns of the enemies, you're still going to take damage. If you're going to play a run and gunner, just play Contra, play Mega Man. I joke, but I think the only reason to play this game is that awesome soundtrack. And you just need to find that sweet spot with the running and the shooting. And I'm sure that speedrunner who finished this game in 8 minutes and 30 seconds found that sweet spot very well. Another moment of contention I didn't like about this game is that when you did get to the boss, they didn't have a boss meter to know how much damage you had put on the boss. And it doesn't seem like it would have been that difficult to add it to the screen, because there wasn't a lot on the screen other than your life meter and your ammo meter. That was it, because you're not keeping score, you're not keeping time. Thank God they weren't, this wasn't timed, that you had to finish the levels in a certain amount of time like you did in like Castlevania or something. That would have just made the game more difficult. I found the Journey to Silius to have some rather strange in-game physics, and this is me here at Two Consoles Too Late. When you hit certain enemies, you would take damage, and you did this sort of weird blowback thing. Kind of like a blowback that you would see in perhaps Castlevania, where you sort of move backwards from the enemy. And I called it the moonwalk of damage. And it was everything kind of went a little bit slow-mo when you were taking this damage. And as you progress through the game, there are some cheap gotcha moments. And by gotcha moments, I mean like an enemy is going to pop out of the middle of nowhere and shoot. And unless you jump at just the right time and fire at just the right time, you're not going to kill the enemy, and you're going to take damage. And there was a couple gotcha moments. Another gotcha moment was when you had to jump down like 2 or 3 levels. There was an enemy on every floor, as it were, and to avoid those enemies was really difficult. And once again, even with those save states, it just couldn't be done. So I felt that was a little cheap, and there was a lot of those moments in the Journey to Silius that I thought was rather cheap. And so even with those save states, I made it as far as the 3rd stage, and I stopped. Because completing this game, there was nothing there for me. It's like, it's not really a notch in your belt to say, I finished the Journey to Silius. I mean, if you can finish the Journey to Silius without save states and with the 3 lives that are given to you, or, perhaps using the continue, way to go. All right. But once again, the 8-bit games here at Two Consoles Too Late, not a fan, and I was not a fan of this one. If I'm going to play a run and gunner, I'm just going to play Contra. I think that's going to be my go-to when it comes to games like this. But once again, the soundtrack of the Journey to Silius knocked it out of the park. Mr. Kodaka really, made a really memorable soundtrack that I think is well known amongst most retro gamers. Kitty Lunch Hour, my new favorite portion of the podcast. This is the portion of the podcast that is housekeeping. What am I doing? What am I buying? What am I playing? What am I selling? Whatever. I just got back from vacation, and when I go on vacation, I play a handheld game. So I got a copy of Link Between Worlds, and I played that for about 2 days, and just couldn't get into it. I think it's interesting the dynamic they did with Link Between Worlds, where you could like turn into a painting and you could walk on the wall. That added another some interesting depth to a Zelda title. You know, trying to think creatively of how to get through certain areas by having to walk through walls, especially in the dungeons. But I lost interest real fast. But fortunately, I brought my copy of Metroid Samus Returns with me for the 3DS. And I started playing that again, and I'm trying to get my completion time below 16 hours for that. So that one's in progress. Now, I'm also playing Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Now, this is another Miracle of Save States game. And yes, I said I was fatigued by 8-bit games, but I saw a video by Retro Nate, a YouTuber who plays through NES games. And once again, I really like his content. He's really down to earth. He's a really good NES gamer. I don't think any game I've seen so far offer him some difficulty. He actually did a walkthrough of the Journey to Silius, which I watched. And he took some deaths and got a little frustrated because that's the kind of game Journey to Silius is. So anyway, after watching his walkthrough of Zelda 2, he really just broke it down and just kind of showed you, okay, you got to level up strategically to get through Zelda 2. It's just the only way you can do it. So I'm trying to play Zelda 2 again, and I'm really enjoying it now that I'm leveled up correctly. I think the first time I played that, I was using save states rather heavily, but I wasn't leveled up enough to do damage to the certain enemies that need to be done. That all being said, Zelda 2, I'm not going to do an episode about that game here on the podcast because it's low-hanging fruit. It's just been talked to death, and I'm just playing it just to play it once more, see if I can beat it, but once again, using those save states. And interesting factoids about that game. There's no Ganon, kind of. I mean, Ganon gets mentioned in the opening title, and when you die, something about the return of Ganon. I think they misspelled. Did they misspell it in this one with 2 N's? I can't remember. And there's no rupees, and so it's a divisive Zelda entry into the franchise because it was so different from the original, as we all know. So I don't need to talk about that. And what am I watching here on the Kitty Lunch Hour? I got back from vacation, and last time I came back from vacation, I got into surf music. And so on the way back, once again, I queued up some surf music on the Apple Music, and the theme for Endless Summer came on, the documentary about the surfers from the 60s by Bruce Brown. And then the theme for Hawaii Five-0 came on. And that sort of, raised my eyebrows. And I thought, you know what? I never actually watched Hawaii Five-0, the original from the 60s, not this remake from 2010. So I started watching the original Hawaii Five-0 with Jack Lord and James MacArthur. And for those who don't know, James MacArthur, he was the oldest son in Swiss Family Robinson, which strangely we watched on vacation on movie night. We watched Swiss Family Robinson, and here I am watching Hawaii Five-0. So it's just kind of things that come full circle. And Jack Lord, I think, is best known for Hawaii Five-0, but he was also in the original James Bond film Dr. No as Felix Leiter. Yes. And Dr. No is showing in my local theater this morning at 11:30. So I might go check that out. It's always fun to see an old James Bond movie, especially in the theater. All right, this is another track from Mr. Kodaka. This is from Stage 3 of Journey to Silius. The soundtrack, if I still belonged to a gym, I would probably, rock some of these tracks on the treadmill. Because I always like to listen to upbeat, energetic music when I was on the treadmill. I didn't pump iron or anything like that. But thank you for listening to the podcast. I've been the host, Jackson Keebler. You can check me out on the interwebs. Just go to Google and type in 2 Consoles Too Late, and there I will be. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It's all there. And be sure to check out the live stream Saturday morning, 7:30 a.m. I'm playing a game from the Longbox Collection. And this past one was Off-World Interceptor, a game I actually kind of enjoyed. All right, beat the heat, drink plenty of water, don't exert yourself. And as always, have a good one. I love you. Happy 4th, and goodbye. Cannot respond, cannot load article from the internet, will now explode in 3 seconds. Boop. This one is written by Ethan Gatch. I think I've featured him before, and I'm pretty sure that when you go to the offices of Katico, I think that's about it. What the fuck? Yeah, it's like giving me an ad. What is going on here? No. What? No. What the fuck? What? No, I don't want to listen to ads. No.